I call the member for Cunningham.
Thank you, Acting Deputy Speaker. I have moved the motion relating to apprenticeship support in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper.
I call the member for Cunningham.
Thank you. Acting Deputy Speaker, I have to bring to the House's attention, and the reason why I put this notice on the motion and notice of motion on the paper, a fairly dramatic recent release of figures on apprentice and trainee numbers in this country. In particular, I want to outline for people how the impact on apprentice and trainee numbers has been affected by government decision making, and put a very strong call out to the government to reconsider what they're doing in this space. So first of all, what's the situation we find ourselves in? Well, the National Centre for Vocational Education and Research, NCVER, which is our premier data collection and analysis body in this sector, Friday week ago released their report, Australian Vocational Education and Training Statistics, Apprentices and Trainees for the 2015 March quarter. What this report told us was that since the government has been elected, there has been nearly 100,000 apprentices lost in that time period. Now, the member, I have to say, I wouldn't go to what the rates of loss were previously, because this is an unprecedented decrease in the number of apprentices and trainees. In particular, I would point out that the time period that I'm talking about covers from the election of the government. That is the September 2013 numbers, which were 417,700 in training. For the March quarter of this year, that has dropped to 319,700. That's almost a quarter of the number of apprentices and trainees in training have been lost. And the reason that this is such a significant and indeed critical issue for both our economy and our communities is that that means we are not putting in place the next pipeline of skilled people to take on the jobs that are emerging. And I'm sure people in this House would know exactly what it's like trying to get a plumber or a tiler in the current environment. They're a very short supply, and we need to be training young people in order to meet those skills shortages. And I, of course, would point out that apprentices and trainees cover a wide range of employment areas, from hairdressing to plumbing and tiling to construction, but also across areas where the trainees operate, in particular in the services sector. And so we need to be getting the balance right to get the next generation trained. The other reason it's so important to our communities is that we have this persistent high youth unemployment, and in particular for many of our regional and rural areas. And one of the most effective, important pathways for young people to get a start in the employment market is through the apprenticeship and traineeship system. And so I will call on Minister Birmingham to have a very urgent look at these figures and to go into bat for some additional funding. His portfolio has suffered a $1 billion cut in programs to support apprentices. I'm sure members opposite are going to talk all about the new Australian Apprenticeship Network system, and I would point out to them it replaced the old Australian Apprenticeship Centres, and it replaced them with $10 million a year less money than they previously had. The government is also asking these centres to do mentoring, to do job matching, jobs that were not done previously by the apprenticeship centres but were done under specific funded programs, which were cut. So not only are the networks having to do more work, they're having to do it with less money at a time when clearly there is a need to be getting behind the apprenticeship system and our young people getting that chance. The Tools for Your Trade was cut. I hear complaints from this all over the place. Very, very low uptake of the trade support loans, only about 25,000 at last count out of over 300,000 apprentices in training. So there is a real problem out there, and we need to take it seriously and take urgent action. The Minister needs to give this his urgent attention. I have to say I haven't heard him speak on apprentices and trainees at all. The government has taken its eye off the ball. If sticking to our plan, which is the brochure that recently came out, is accurate, it's actually sticking it to apprentices. And we need to do a much better job than that for our young people.
I call